Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Tanks with the mighty Jingles, and it kind of escaped your attention that the World of Tanks videos lately have been shorter than you may be accustomed to. No more than one battle replay in any given video, and this is of course because since World of Warcraft Legion has been released, I have been hopelessly and horribly addicted to it, and every spare moment of the day I've spent playing that. But you guys have put up with my shit for long enough, so today, a bumper-sized edition of the good, the bad and the ugly, just as a special reward for putting up with it. And we're kicking off with another contender for the fastest 15-0 defeat in gaming history. So we're going to speed things up a little here because the standard of the gameplay is nothing spectacular, it's the result that matters. And that first enemy tank spotted up there, the Centurion. Generally speaking, in World of Tanks, if you're the first tank spotted, you tend to be the first one to die, because everybody stops and turns their guns on you. Not this guy, however. It's a Centurion. Strong tank in a hold down position, looking over a ridge, and he's going to make the most of that in this game. It does take a while for the collapse to actually happen in this game. Well over a minute played, and so far no tanks have been killed. Centurion up there keeps poking that ridge line and putting some flanking shots into this T-29 over here. And oh, here it is. Okay, at this point we are 1.5 minutes played, and they're starting to lose tanks. There goes one, there goes two. Centurions just claimed the kill on the T-29. They're all starting to push over now. The FCM's gotten outflanked. 110 going around trying to prop the flank up. Sperpans are coming in, doing a cheeky run, and getting away with it. They're now 5 tanks down. This is not looking good on this flank. They're 6 tanks down. The FCM is surely doomed. Everybody around him has died. He looks like the last one left alive over here. No, not quite. But, well, yeah, they're all dead over here. 10 tanks down, 11 tanks down. What is going on? 1.5 minutes into this game, and no tanks had been killed. And yet, just over 1 minute later, 13 of this team have been taken out. But watch this M12. Check this out. He's about to take a direct hit from an IS-6. And it bounced. Now watch this here. This is quite amusing. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5, there's another bounce, there's 6, there's 7, 8, 9, including the original hit from the IS-6 that bounced off the dozer blade at the back. Took 10 shots to put that M12 down. And now all that's left is the T-25AT. Oh no, he's dead as well. Wow. That was a 15-0 defeat in just over 3 minutes and 20 seconds. And that's not the fastest 15-0 defeat that we've seen. In last week's episode of Mingles with Jingles, the starting segment featured a 15-0 defeat in 3 minutes and 12 seconds. And that is the fastest I've ever seen. However, in this particular replay, the KV-2 died with 13 minutes and 38 seconds on the clock. And the T-25AT died with 11 minutes and 44 seconds on the clock. So it's not the fastest straight-up 15-0 defeat from game start to game end that I've ever seen in World of Tanks, although it is pretty close. It's probably the second fastest, but from the point where the team lost the first tank until the team had no tanks left, it only took 1 minute and 38 seconds. So it's the fastest collapse of a team I have ever seen in a game of World of Tanks. So that was the bad, and moving along swiftly, next we have the ugly. This is Lurok Turoth in the M41 Grand Final version of the Walker Bulldog, the Black Dog. Nice little tank. Doesn't have the autoloader version of the 90mm gun, but it's got a good rate of fire on the single shot version of the 90mm. It's a decent little tier 7 light tank. It's a tier 9 battle on Westfield, and that guy there in the LTTB, who goes by the ironic name of the Proud Canadian, yeah, he's the focus of this particular section of today's video. He's actually quite a good player, 42,000 battles played. He's no unicorn by any stretch of the imagination, but over 42,000 games he's learned a thing or two, although based on the strength of this particular battle, what he's learned most is how to be an outstanding douche canoe. Anyway, for now, back to Luroth in the Black Dog. He's heading west and keeps checking to see who's coming west with him, and there's not an awful lot of his team are heading in this direction, although he is going to get some support from 2 of the big old tier 9 tank destroyers. For the moment, he's just positioning himself to spot anybody coming down the western flank, and so far nothing seen. Meanwhile, the first kill of the match goes to the LTTB. He's not a bad player after all. And this is when Lurok spots his first target, AMX1375, who has also seen him. Goes for the snapshot, scores a hit, and then takes a hit from the T50. Tier 9 medium tank. You don't want to be getting shot at by one of those things. And there's not just one Tier 9 medium up there, he's been joined by an M46 Patton. So Lurok is definitely not going to be pushing his luck with these guys, and he doesn't need to. He just needs to hold his position, keep them spotted, and let the T30 and the Waffenträger behind him do the work for him. And then the Type 64 just YOLOs in, who apparently didn't get the memo about keeping the enemy team spotted, and, well, yeah, just suicides, basically. Now, at this point, Lurok, for some reason, has got high explosive loaded. Perhaps he was planning on using it on the AMX1375, but it's just cost him a lot of damage from those two side shots into the M46, which, if he'd had armor piercing loaded, would have done substantially more damage than that. For now, however, he just needs to hold his position, keep these guys spotted, and let those two tank destroyers behind him do all the heavy lifting. Now, he takes a bit of a chance here against the M46, and he does score a hit, but the M46 manages to score a hit on him while firing on the move. So, yeah, you can't afford to sit there trading against an M46, but he sees the friendly T50 sneaking up behind him. Friendly T50 takes the M46 out, and now there's just the enemy Skoda T50 and the T49 left. Now, both of those T50s are on 100%, and the friendly T50 is taking cover from the enemy T50 while he focuses down this T49, and the T49 is going to get a shot off, but it's the only shot he's going to get because he's getting fired up by a Black Dog and a T50, and yeah, he's done. Friendly T50 lost 25% of his health in that exchange. Could have been a lot worse, took a direct hit from a T49 after all. And it's at more or less this point where people decide to stop and have a chat about whether or not World of Tanks has rigged matchmaking. Our little friend in the LTTB is convinced that the match is rigged in order to generate fast, lopsided battles that are over very, very quickly to encourage people to spend more money on repair kits and consumables. Well, okay, everybody's entitled to their opinion. And I'm fairly sure you lot will probably have an opinion on this subject as well. However, if he's basing that assumption on the results of this match, yeah, this is actually a very, very close game. Fast and lopsided, it isn't. This opinion, of course, is not what makes the LTTB a raging douche canoe. Now, what he does at the end of this game is what makes him a raging douche canoe. But for now, back to the action. As you can see, the scores are starting to level out a little. Lurok's team are still winning. They've managed to pull an extra kill back. The scores are 7-4. The Waffenträger's moved right up off the ridgeline, as has the T30. That's very, very good to see. Often you'll see these tank destroyers just camping the back even when they should have been moving up. There's nothing left over there for them to kill. This is actually looking... I mean, the scores, there's only a 2-kill difference in the scores, but the positioning is key. Enemy Waffenträger spotted. They've herded the entire enemy team into one corner of the map. And Lurok's going to get a couple of shots over the ridgeline into this Waffenträger before he can get away. But sadly, they're not going to kill him. And the enemy team have pulled another kill back. Scores are now 7-6. Still a couple of shots that Lurok can take with this 90mm gun and a couple of targets of opportunity over there. Now does score another hit. But it's definitely time to move up. Now remember that Waffenträger's still there, so he's going to have to keep an eye out for him. With the amount of health he has remaining, he does not want to get hit by anything with a 128mm gun. Everything's okay so far. They've managed to pull back another kill. He does manage to score a hit on the Object 704, and there's the Waffenträger. Screw that, pull back, let somebody else kill him. Somebody else please kill him. The enemy team pulled 2 kills back. The scores were 8-8 for a moment. Lurok's team nailed another kill, there goes the Waffenträger. And now it's time to push in and finish these guys off. The scores are 9-9. Rigged matchmaking, my arse. You can probably guess my opinion on that particular subject. And Lurok crests the ridge here, and that is not what you want to see. An Object 704 pointing his gun right at you. So he decides, screw this, and that's when the T10 YOLOs him. And Lurok's game is over. The T30 manages to bounce a shot point blank range off the front of the T10. Oh, this is not good. The enemy team are now ahead, 9-11. 10-11, they pull one back, the T10 goes down, The T10 actually had a good game, finished off with 4 kills and a lot of damage done. The scores are dead even. This is a real comeback for the enemy team. 11-11, 11-12, the enemy team are once again just pushing into the lead as they're all playing very aggressively here and coming out and fighting face on the enemy tanks that push them into this corner of the map. They're ahead by 1 kill again, but the LTTB has the win. He is capping. He's in concealment. All he has to do is stay there. If the enemy want to get in here and reset the cap, they're going to have to fight their way through that Type 61. And the Type 61 is leading them all in the other direction. But wait, hang on a minute. Why is the LTTB not capping anymore? He's left the cap circle. Is he stupid? No, he's not stupid. He's an arsehole. The LTTB has decided that because the heavy tanks on his team haven't killed anything, this team does not deserve to win. Right at the point where he left the cap circle, the last thing he had to say was not 1 kill by our heavy tanks. That's why he's left the cap circle. He's doing it to punish his team. He has decided, slightly above average player that he is, that his team does not deserve to win, and he's laying the blame squarely at the feet of the heavy tanks on his team. And so he is deliberately throwing the game. There we go, the Type 61 has just died, leading the IS-6 and the Super Pershing away from the cap circle, giving the LTTB all the time that he needed to win by capping. There is no way an IS-6 or a Super Pershing were going to make it all the way over there in time to hit and kill a stealthed up LTTB. But the proud Canadian, who has to go down as having the most ironic name in video gaming history, has decided that the team doesn't deserve it. Our little friend in the LTTB is also not too good at reading the score list. Either that or he's had his irony glands surgically removed. The guy in the T50, who by the way has done 3,600 damage and scored 4 kills, is asking him why the hell would he throw the game by leaving the cap circle, to which the LTTB replies, no, you threw the game by doing nothing. To the guy with 4 kills, who's done 3,600 damage. I can't really condone what happens next, because it is a clear violation of the terms of service of World of Tanks and can result in account suspension if you get caught doing it. But you can kind of, if not sympathise, hell, you may be able to sympathise, but you can totally understand why the team would then start to give this guy's position away in chat to the enemy team. And that's not something you're going to be able to do in future, because in the next patch, of course, World of Tanks is removing cross-team chat in battles, precisely for this sort of reason. But it's a kind of forlorn hope. I mean, they would rather lose and see this guy die than have him successfully force a draw. And you can understand, even if you can't really condone it. But how is an IS-6 and a Super Pershing going to catch an LTTB that doesn't want to be caught, even if they know exactly where he is? He's in an LTTB. He can do 70 kilometers per hour. So there's no way this guy's going to die. And he's either going to run the clock down and force a draw, or the enemy team are going to engage their brains and they're going to go for the cap, because that's the only way they're going to win this. They're never going to catch and kill an LTTB, and it takes them some time, but they do eventually figure out that that's what they have to do. Well, at least one of them does. Probably the Super Pershing, because there's no way a Super Pershing is going to catch... Well, a Super Pershing couldn't catch a Patton, let alone an LTTB. The IS-6 never joins him in the cap circle. Presumably he's still fruitlessly chasing the LTTB around the map, but the LTTB is not going anywhere near his own cap circle. He is quite content to let the enemy team win by capping. In fact, at this point he could probably quite safely jump into the enemy cap circle and farm himself some invader points to boost his score from this battle, but no. He's not going to take the chance that the IS-6 is heading over here in an attempt to catch him doing exactly that, so he's going to play it safe, and he's just going to run the clock down and let the enemy team win by capping in order to punish players like the T50 who threw the game for doing nothing. Players like the T50 who scored 4 kills and did 3,600 damage. It's like this guy had his irony glands removed and replaced with arsehole glands at birth. 42,000 games played, and it seems the only thing he's learned in that space of time is how to be a douche nozzle. Well, I figure you probably need some cheering up after that one. We've had the bad, we've had the ugly, it's time for the good. Yep, Uncle Jingles ain't gonna let you down. This is Dave. Well, it's not, but I can't pronounce his name, so it's Dave. And he's in the T-29 American Tier 7 heavy tank, but it's not fully upgraded. He's only using the 90mm gun, which means he only has 160mm of penetration, not great, and 240 alpha damage. Although if he chooses to use the APC or premium ammunition, he has frankly overpowered penetration, 243mm. That's like a Tier 10 medium. The thing about the T-29 is you get this 90mm gun carried over from the M6 at Tier 6, and you're going to be using it while you grind your way out to the 105mm. And while you definitely want the 105mm gun on the T-29, it's not a bad tank with the 90, because it doesn't have the alpha damage, but it's a lot more accurate. It's got much better gun handling, it's more rapid firing, it's actually got very, very good damage per minute with this 90mm gun. Now, here's the thing about tanks that have low alpha damage, high damage per minute guns. Obviously, you have to keep the gun firing to make the most out of that high DPM. And in order to do that, you need one of two different types of tanks. You need a tank like the Comet, for example, which is fast and mobile, and can keep popping up, taking the shot, relocate, pop up, take the shot, and basically keep the gun firing while avoiding return fire. Or, you need a tank that can afford to take a hit or two. And the T-29 has a turret with 279mm of frontal armour. Those big ears at the back of the turret, they're the rangefinders. They're not part of the hitbox. You can hit them, but your shot will do no damage. It will go right through. Way back in the day, those were part of the hitbox, and the T-29 was probably the worst of the Tier 7 heavy tanks because of that. Great frontal armour, completely negated by the fact that you could just aim for those rangefinders, the ears at the side of the turret. Well, quite a few patches back they were taken away from the hitbox, and that, in my opinion at least, has made the T-29 the best of the Tier 7 heavies. The preferred tactic of T-29 drivers is to exploit the excellent gun depression of the American heavy tanks, and the T-29 is no exception there. Position themselves on the reverse slope of the hill, poke the ridge, point the gun down, and just blast away with relative impunity at enemy tanks on the other side. Now, Dave isn't going to get much opportunity to do that in this game, but he's still got that 279mm of frontal turret armour, and he knows how to side scrape. Check this out. The enemy team has a lot of heavy tanks, and most of them are at the far end of this valley shooting at Dave. There's the IS-2, there's the Tier 6 OI platoon is over there, there's also the Tier 7 ONI. Oh, that was a good shot. Dave's team isn't lacking heavy tanks itself, and again, most of them are at this end of the valley. There's Dave in the T-29, there's another friendly IS-2 there, who's just taken a hit and is backing off, and they're being backed up by a Tier 6 KV-85. And that's pretty much it. I mean, the Lux is with them, but what's the Lux going to do to a bunch of enemy Tier 6 and 7 heavies from the front? Not an awful lot. Meanwhile, the team is hemorrhaging tanks. The northeastern end of the map, the ice road coming down from the enemy base up in the northeast, has just been completely overrun. There wasn't an awful lot there defending it, just an AMXM 445 and an SU-152, and the SU-152 went down swinging. But if you have a look at the map over there, and somebody's firing high explosive at Dave here, it's almost certainly the OI. But yes, if you have a look at the map over there, you will see, and this is important, that the enemy team now has a straight run right into Dave's base. And the only thing in their way is an SU-100M1. There's a TOG-2 on the bridge who has been taking some sniping shots and just picked off a Comet, but there's no way a TOG-2 is going to make it back in time to prevent the rush on the base that is surely about to happen. And Dave can't really go anywhere here. He's pretty much committed to fighting off these enemy heavies. Checks around to see if he's getting any support. The scores are 5-8. He's probably not going to get any support. So instead, he just continues angling, side-scraping, and going for the side shots where possible. He hasn't actually used any of his APCR ammunition yet, by the way. You know, when you've got a Japanese super heavy giving you the side of the tank like that, there's absolutely no reason to. Even with 160mm of penetration, you're going to get through and do some damage. Goes for the tracking shot here against the ONI. It's the Japanese Tier 7. Aims for the lower glacis. Come on, get the reload. Yep, lovely jubbly. Dave, that IS-2 and the KV-85 that just turned up are holding off 6 or 7 enemy Tier 6 and 7 heavy tanks. Why aren't they pushing? Well, they don't need to, because there are only 2 tanks left on Dave's team. against 8 enemies. Okay, against 7 enemies. The KV-85 has taken a couple of hits. Dave has only really taken 1 hit. It's a high explosive hit. And what is the Tiger doing? Is the Tiger really? Is he really doing this? He is really doing this. Why would he do that? He was trying to get the kill on the KV-85, wasn't he? Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Now this is the perfect example of why you would want the 90mm gun and not the 105mm gun on the T29. And you would only prefer the 90mm in very specific circumstances, and this is it. The OI was stuck on the other side of the rock, unable to return fire because he couldn't repair his tracks fast enough. The 105mm gun, hang on, Dave's just going to finish off an enemy T29. The 105mm gun has the alpha damage, but it doesn't fire fast enough to keep a tank permanently tracked, the way Dave was able to do using the 90mm gun. Now you'll note that the enemy team are not capping, and to be fair, if you have 8 tanks versus 2 and you know where the 2 are, I probably wouldn't recommend capping under those circumstances either. But they're not 8 tanks against 2 anymore. They're now 4 tanks against 2. And okay, the KV-85 isn't going to be a whole lot of use because he's only on 3% health, but Dave isn't on 3% health, and he's got a rapid-firing 90mm gun. And if they want to kill that KV-85, they're damn well going to have to go through Dave first. Dave, of course, is concentrating on removing as many enemy guns from the battle as he possibly can, as quickly as he can. AMX M4 comes around. Dave angles, his tracks eat it. Enemy tank behind him can't really get around to take advantage because the KV-85 is at the back end of the road waiting for it to do exactly that. Takes it on the chin again from the AMX M4. Finishes him off, his tracks are down again, but he hasn't taken any damage. KV-85 has actually managed to claim a kill. Suddenly, it's 2 against 1. Maybe now would be a good time to start capping. Actually, no. You've left it a little bit too late. A couple of minutes ago would have been a good time to start capping, but, well, you couldn't have predicted this was going to happen. Oh, there he is, bless him. The T-34-100 is actually going to try to win by capping. I don't think he's going to get away with it. Too little, too late, sunshine. He hasn't done too badly either. He's sitting there on 2 kills. He's probably cursing his team in chat right now. And who can blame him? I mean, this wasn't exactly a classic no-cap kill-all situation. As I said, if it's 8 against 2, and you know exactly where those 2 enemy tanks are, and one of them is a one-shot kill, why would you cap? But, well, that's what I love about World of Tanks. There's no such thing as a sure thing. Dave's sitting there on 7 kills. What more for a Radley Walters? And he does ask the KV-85 if he can have the kill. No harm in asking, but the KV-85 is under no obligation whatsoever to let you have it. And I personally feel that epic medals like the Radley Walters are things that should be earned, not given to you. But Dave is entirely capable of earning it. He can go hold down here. There he is. And there's the Radley Walters. And it didn't look like the KV-85 was going to just hand it to him on a plate anyway, so he definitely earned that one. So there's the Radley Walters. 8 kills, almost all of them enemy heavies, unsurprisingly also high caliber and top gun. 240 alpha damage gun, that 90mm, did over 3,500 damage, with 2,500 damage blocked by armour. And it's not really surprising to see that the top 3 on his team were Dave, the IS-2 that he shared that corner with for almost the entire game, and the KV-85 who turned up at the end. And, well, I'm not going to say without whom Dave would probably have died, but he certainly wouldn't have finished with as much health remaining as he had. Also, pay attention to damage blocked by armour, almost 2,500, and that was all down to the front of the turret of the T29, and the side scraping. Dave's tracks took one hell of a pounding during the course of that game, but it was only really that high explosive shot from, I think, the enemy Oni that did any damage whatsoever. Took out one of Dave's crew, got him back up again with the first aid kit, and carried on fighting. Now, Dave started that game with 14 rounds of APCR premium ammunition loaded, and he finished the game with 8, so he did fire 6 of them. And because he did use those 6 rounds of premium ammunition, he did not make a profit out of that match. In fact, even if he'd been running a premium account, he would have only made a profit of 14,000 credits. Premium ammunition will dig you out of a lot of trouble in World of Tanks, used in the right circumstances, but expect to pay through the nose for it. Still, despite the fact that he didn't earn any money out of that match, I doubt Dave is complaining too much. He did get a Radley Walters after all. And that is it for today's episode of The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.